Guys, and welcome to Zwachitangani, your YouTube channel about everything that you would probably learn from your grandmother at Chitangani. My name is Kumbuzo, and today we want to talk about the star, the moon, and the sun. Okay, so we know that our ancestors used the sun to tell the time of day, and they would use the moon to mark the beginning and the end of each month, and then they will also use both the moon and the stars to tell the seasons of the time. Now, let us look at the sun. So in Vhavenda, the sun is actually called Duba, sun up in the sky. And then the word Duba, which is used to mean the sun, is also used to mean a day, right? And our grandmothers at home in the villages, they will use the position of the sun to actually tell what time it is. So your grandmother does not own a watch, but she always knows exactly what time it is. You will invite her to an event which starts at 12 o'clock. She does not have a watch, but at 12 o'clock, she will be there. How do they know this? How do they know time? So my grandmother actually tells me that I grew up the mountains of Ruheni, right? So she will be standing at the front of our house and she will use a mountain to mark when the shade of the mountain is in this position, it means it is this time. So they will use stationary objects such as trees, such as a stationary house, or they can actually use their own shadow sometimes to actually tell what time it is. The position of your shadow tells you what time it is. Some people will actually use something called shadow sticks to actually tell what time it is. But my grandmother actually used the mountain that we would see from across from our house. Now, if we actually look at the time of days in Vhavenda, we actually mostly use this in greeting. Like when you say Ndimachironi, it actually means morning. But then that also marks the position of the sun in the morning, right? And we have Ndimachironi and then Matavero, right? Sort of like your mid-morning, right? Matavero. That's where the sun rays is like, psh. And then Masiari, which will be like your 12 o'clock, and this is when the sun is right here. And then Matabama, right? And then Madekwana, which when the sun sets. Okay, so we track the position of the sun throughout the day to actually know what time of the day it is. Then the sun is also very important in our culture. Big deal for actually preserving food. So we know that our grandparents will harvest their, like for example, their beans, their groundnuts, and then they'll put them in the sun for them to dry up. Even your maize meal, they will put them in the sun to dry up. But then one big part of our culture is mikusule, your traditional vegetables that will only be available at a particular season, and these vegetables will actually be boiled and be preserved, be boiled and dried up in the sun, and they are put in containers or in your traditional bowls and are kept for winter season in case when we don't have the greens. Then we also have things like nchobo, where it's like your vegetables that are picked up fresh, raw, and then dried up just like that, and then we call that nchobo, which will be mostly done on Derere, right? So it's very important for the preservation of our food. And then the next thing is the moon. The moon in Vhavenda is actually called Mwezi, the moon up in the sky. But then the word Mwezi actually also is used to mean a month. So our grandmothers will usually say the month has died, meaning that the month has ended. When we end the month, they will say the moon has died, Mwezi wofa, right? And then they use the moon to track down the beginning of the end of each month. Then the moon is also used to track the periods of women, and then they will also use that to track down pregnancy based on when was the last time you saw the moon, right? And when a woman goes to her periods, they will just simply say she is in the moon, kana ubona mwezi, to see the moon, right? And that is actually part of our language on a daily. The last part is the stars. This one, I am still studying it, but this is what I actually have learned so far. So our grandmothers and our grandfathers would use different types of stars to actually, together with the moon of course, to actually tell which season of the year it is. They know when the season of planting starts. They use specific stars. So there's actually, so far I have found 4. There is a star called Chirimera, which is believed to come during the planting season. So the position of these stars will actually tell them when to drop the seeds on the ground, when to start tilling their land, when should they start dropping the seeds on the ground, and then when is the end of the planting season. So they would use the stars they would track the stars to actually tell when is what. They will also be able to tell the coming season, whether we'll have a good rain or we'll have drought on that coming season, based on the positions of the stars and the moon and the sun. So I am still studying this, and stay tuned for this one, because it is amazing to realize that our ancestors actually knew all of this. There is also another star which is very famous amongst the Vhavenda people. It's called Masase, and a lot of people would actually think that they are actually referring to the Mars, but when I look a little bit deeper, no. Masase is actually a Tshivenda name, or an African word used to mean the morning star, and this star is believed to appear in winter and when it's sort of dawn. So when they see the star Masase, they know that it's almost morning, and then that is the perfect time for Vhavenda women to actually wake up and start grinding corn to prepare meals for their families in winter. So they would use Masase. Then there's also another star that I read about, of which this particular star is actually a big deal. I think it's called the Nganga or Ngaka, something like that. And this star, between the Vhavenda and the Basotho people, it is believed that the first person to actually spot this star would have to go up the mountain amongst the Vhavenda people and blow a horn, something called parapara. It will blow parapara so that everybody can hear that they have seen that star. And if you were the first person to see the star, you actually get a reward of a cow. So I will make a proper video. Stay tuned for this one, because wow, the stars are amazing. And thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like, comment for more content. Thank you.